I usually start with a basic draft, even if it's rough and imprecise. This early sketch includes colors and shadows to help me visualize the final result. From there, I move to a more detailed sketch, focusing on accurate three-dimensional structures and preparing the line art for coloring. Then I add colors and shadows as planned. The finishing touches involve adjusting light and shadow to match the required style, adding detailed textures, and applying final corrections and effects. I tend to stick to this process without deviating too much, but I always try to switch things up a little in each piece to create a range of different artworks. Sometimes I try out unusual color combinations or draw characters in poses I haven't drawn before. I take small steps out of my comfort zone by experimenting with different light intensities, accessory sizes, materials, and so on. When doodling, I go with the flow, drawing whatever pops into my head. But for more serious projects, I carefully plan everything from the direction of the viewer's gaze to the amount of detail. For instance, if I decide to doodle someone sitting, I just let my imagination guide how they're seated, why, what shoes they're wearing, and where they're looking. In contrast, for work commissions, I think through each element systematically. Why the viewer's gaze should be directed at a particular point, how to draw the character's shoulders to make the pose look more natural, and so on. These elements guide the viewer's eye through the painting. Concretely speaking, I focus on the overall layout of the illustration and use lines and colors in a way that guides the viewer's eye as I intend. Then, I always try to make the representation and color scheme as realistic and natural as possible. On a more abstract note, I spend a lot of time contemplating how to convey the atmosphere I'm going for, the characters' personalities, and the general situation to make the artwork more relatable and engaging for the audience. I don't have a specific routine, but since I use Photoshop, I usually apply a sharpening filter to the image once at the very end to enhance clarity. When brainstorming ideas, I try to dive deep into any concept that I personally find either interesting or cute. For example, if I'm drawing a hat that doesn't strike me as innovative, fun, or cute, it's going to be really hard for me to make it appealing. On the other hand, ideas that I find cute or interesting, although not as technically pretty, often leave a lasting impression. So, during the ideation phase, I keep refining my ideas until they feel either interesting or cute to me. First of all, when I draw characters, I think about the viewer's eye level. To make a short character look like they really are small, I draw them from a high angle. For mysterious characters, I consider how they would look from the side or back. When I want to make a character look larger, I think about where to place smaller objects in the scene to achieve that effect. Essentially, my compositions are carefully crafted to guide the viewer's gaze. Capturing a character's personality in a static image can be tough, so I give a lot of thought to their characteristics, manner of speaking, accessories they usually wear, and overall vibe. This includes choosing the right props and costumes, or even deliberately excluding certain elements to ensure that the character's personality comes across as I intend. My style is influenced by manga, so I want my drawings to look dynamic. I prefer vivid, bold colors over muted, subdued tones. In terms of shading, I prefer sharp contrasts between light and dark areas instead of softer gradients. Light and shadow are essential to create depth, so I aim for a realistic representation of how light interacts with objects. My method leans towards a more painting-like style, similar to watercolor or oil paintings, where I build up layers of color as if painting directly with a brush, rather than using digital airbrush techniques. I firmly believe that the emotions depicted in my drawings should feel real to the viewer. For example, if I draw someone laughing, their laughter shouldn't be without reason. Likewise, if a character is angry, it shouldn't just be their face that's angry. I really focus on the nuances of those emotions. Things like where they're looking, the curve of their mouth, the position of their shoulders, and overall facial expressions to bring a sense of movement and life to the characters. I try not to make the backgrounds too fancy or loud because I don't want them to reduce the characters to mere decorations. Instead, I carefully select each prop and detail in the background, ensuring that they contribute to the dynamism of the characters. My drawings often have thick lines like in a manga, but I try to keep the shadows and colors as realistic as possible. Sometimes these two styles clash, but my goal is to blend them together as best I can. I would say my strength lies in creating characters, be they male or female, that don't only look cool or stylish, but also feel alive and relatable to the viewer, like a potential romantic interest or a family member. The first time I saw Kim Joong-gi's art, I was amazed by the dynamism and life he brought to his static images. That was a real eye-opener for me. Ever since then, I've had this strong desire to create characters that have that same sense of vitality and movement.